I'm Diane Barrett with the BE Collection. I'm here with Gwenn Vallone. It is 7/27/2022. And where are you?
I am at Pugnation Rescue of Los Angeles. Our facility is here in Carson, California. I was born in Waterbury, Connecticut.
How'd you get to California?
Oh, it's very complicated, but some family movement. My sister came out to California first, and I used to visit for the summers when I was in middle school and then into high school, and I loved it. And I didn't know why. I grew up in a very small town in Connecticut, and I knew something was calling me to California besides my sister, maybe a little freedom kind of thing. So basically, I visited for 3 or 4 summers, and then when I graduated high school, I think the kick in the pants was when I talked to my father about college. I was a great student, and I said I wanted to go to college, and he was kind of an old school guy, and he said, "I don't believe in college for girls."
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
How many girls in your family besides you and your sister?
It was just my sister and I, and she's about 3 years older. So I called her crying. She already lived in California, and I said, "What am I going to do? What am I going to do in this small town? I want to go to college." And she said, "If you come out to California, community college is basically free."
I know.
And it was, I don't know, $10 a unit or something. So I decided the minute I graduated high school, I was just going to California to at least start junior college and have some more opportunities. So that's how I made it west.
I think people forget the community colleges. I went also here, $2.50. I mean,
Nice.
You can't beat that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Right.
You can't.
The education was just fine.
Yes.
You all don't have to go to Harvard.
That's right. That's right.
So what was your focus then in college?
It was business. Even in high school, I started taking typing classes, and I knew I wanted to do something business oriented. So that was kind of my focus in community college. And while I was going to school, I was working because I was supporting myself pretty much when I came out here. And I ended up doing some typing, and back then it was word processing and data processing, and I really liked it. So I just kind of fell into that area.
So are you really comfortable then with computers?
Oh, no? Yeah, very comfortable. Yes.
I think that typing helps that.
Yeah, the one good thing my dad did, he said, "Look, when you're taking the typing course, don't cheat. You might be slower in the beginning, but don't look at the keys." And I turned out to be a great typist. And he said, as long as you have that skill, you could always find a job. And he was right.
Mm-hmm. So any other homosexuals in your family, biologic family?
No, I mean, my nephew now is gay.
There you go.
But at the time, like, no other older relatives. I think my stepmother's brother was gay, but very closeted. So it wasn't like I grew up with anybody to look up to and figure that part out.
And what time were you aware about yourself being not heterosexual, so to speak?
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
How old were you when you determined that you weren't following the heterosexual path?
Oh, well, in high school, I had one little brief affair with a woman, a girl, and when I came out to California, I was very athletic. I played softball and everything. And I actually met a woman, and I didn't know what it meant to be attracted to women. I was very, I was very closeted and ignorant, because in Connecticut, I didn't know any lesbians. I didn't know anything. So luckily I ran into a couple people on the softball field that kind of opened my eyes, brought me to my first little gay pride event. Saw, they were obviously together, learned a lot from them, and started dating women from there. So I never really dated men seriously.
Mhm.
I just kind of waited till I figured it all out.
And so then did you live alone when you came to California or?
I actually lived with my father, my natural father for a while. Then I lived with my sister for a while before I kind of got out on my own.
Uh-huh. And then how about your mother? Did she work? Did she have a career of her own?
My mom died when I was 9.
Oh, wow.
So basically, um, my natural father left when I was about 2 or 3. And my mom remarried right away to Ron Vallone. That's my last name. So I grew up with a stepfather who I thought was my father, really. And then unfortunately, my mom passed when I was 9, and then my stepfather remarried. So actually, from age 9, I had 2 step parents.
Mm-hmm.
And my natural father, who left at 2, he was the one that lived in California, contacted my older sister, and that's how she ended up in California before me. So I didn't know if you wanted the whole family history, but
No,
it's complicated. So unfortunately, now all my parents have passed. So I kind of had 2 sets of parents. So both my natural parents and my step parents have passed now. But when I moved to California, I lived with my natural father.
What caused your mother's death?
Breast cancer.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was in 73. So of course, it was more of a death sentence back then than thankfully it is now. So we definitely have cancer running through our family. My sister had a little battle with it, but luckily she's been cleared for about 6 years now, and luckily I'm clear so far.
Good.
Yeah.
Say that way.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So I know you're involved with pugs. I can see on your T-shirt. What does it say? Pugnation?
Rescue. Yeah, Pugnation Rescue of Los Angeles. This was our 10-year anniversary T-shirt. We celebrated 10 years last year.
Ah, congratulations.
Thank you.
So how did you come to form that organization?
Well, I ended up opening my own business, which was a direct mail and database business. And I had that for 10 years. But way back, I've always been interested in animals. So way back, maybe 20 years ago, I started with Best Friends Animal Sanctuary. They were just in Utah at the time. And they had a program called Best Friends Brigade. And you were able to be assigned to local shelters and go out and help. So I would go out and paint and, clean up pee and poo from the dogs and do what I can at all these little shelters. And I came across this shelter that had a lot of pugs. I had never seen the breed. And they told me to sit on the ground, and they let all the pugs loose, and they were all over me snorting. And I'm like, oh my God, these dogs. So fast forward, I was at a big adoption event through Best Friends, and they had me in the cat room, and I was taking care of the cats, and I love cats too, but I was kind of bored. So I went walking around the festival, and I found a booth with pugs, and there was a rescue, and they said, we would love volunteers. So I started volunteering with them for about 7 years. I did whatever I could to help them. And a few things happened, and the leader of that rescue abandoned the pugs that were in a house up in Acton. And a core of volunteers thought, we need to do something. These pugs are just languishing up in this facility with just a few workers. So we tried to work with the woman who ran the rescue, but she just didn't want anything to do with us. So I called a meeting of all volunteers, and I said, we need to just form a new rescue. We need a board. We need to be separate from her because she did some not so great things for the dogs at the end there. So basically, we formed a board. We went about trying to find a facility, and basically we took over for that rescue. So We rented out a place. We built in some fencing, take care of the dogs, got some staff, and we went and got the remaining dogs from her place that was abandoned and started the rescue.
So then can people adopt from you?
Yes, yes, they can.
Mhm.
So at the time I was still running my business, and I did that for about a year and a half. Like I would try and run the rescue and my business. And unfortunately it was just too much, and neither organization was doing great because I was spread so thin. So we had one main, very generous donor for the rescue. And I went to her and I said, someone needs to be at the rescue full time. It can't run itself anymore, and I'm doing the best I can. And she asked me if I was willing to sell my business and come over to the pug rescue full time. And I said, absolutely. It was my passion. I never thought I could make a career out of it, but it just happened because
how do you support yourself with it?
well, she was willing to pay me a salary above what she already gave to the pugs. So I sold my business and came over here to run the pug rescue full time.
So how many dogs do you have in your rescue
Oh
location?
boy, right now we literally have 60 dogs.
Oh my gosh.
Before the pandemic, we averaged around 30 to 40. But since the pandemic, well, the pandemic isn't over, but it's kind of post-pandemic for a lot of people.
Right.
We've just had an influx of dogs that just doesn't stop.
Wow. So people bring them to you?
We get them in 3 ways. We get them out of shelters. So they either end up in shelters as strays or owner relinquishments, or yes, people relinquish to us directly, or people bring us strays directly. So even though we have a great adoption rate, like we work really hard to screen people and bring them in here. We could adopt out 5 in a weekend, but we get 6 in the next week. So it's like, you know, always uphill.
What's the longest you keep a dog? Do you keep them all till they're adopted?
Yeah, we don't euthanize unless they're sick and have no quality of life. So we're kind of half rescue facility and half sanctuary. So those dogs that maybe are special needs that never get adopted, we have a 24-hour staff here, so they get great care until they either are adopted or they pass away.
Wow. So how about your coming out experience as a lesbian while you're doing your school and job? And was that?
Yeah, I was very lucky as far as my coming out experience. Like I had a few fringe people that had a problem, but my family accepted me because I was just a sole proprietor and didn't have to answer to anyone. I could be who I was.
A lot to be said for that.
Right. My customers, you know, a lot of my work with the direct mail was over the computer, so I didn't have to like look any part. I was just me, and I didn't have a problem with anyone, so it was lucky. I mean, I had to come out to my family, of course. My sister ended up asking me, and my friends were like, if she's asking the question, she's really ready to hear it. So that was no big deal.
That's good to remember.
Yeah. And my natural father was a little ignorant about it because my partner at the time, you know, he thought we were just friends, of course. So when I came out to him, he asked if my partner knew, and I'm like, yes, that's my partner, you know, so it was kind of amusing. But I actually had an easy time as far as coming out.
That's great.
I could be genuine who I am. Our board is very diverse. We have a gay man on the board as well. Sorry, my dog's barking.
I can hear them.
Yeah, those are, in the morning we clean. It's a little chaotic out there, but then it'll quiet down. So as far as coming out, I had an easier time than many, many, many people that I know.
Good.
Yeah.
So then I'm trying to, since it was Pat actually that pointed out when once she realized she was a lesbian and she had to get a job that was going to support her, buying a house, doing some of the bigger economic challenges that we all face. And so how do you support yourself in this business?
Well, luckily when I sold my business, I had leftover money with that. And, I negotiated a decent salary to come over because the sponsor of the rescue knew that I had my business. And in order to come over here, I did have to support myself. So it's very rare in animal rescue that you make a decent salary.
I would think that's true, right?
Yeah. So, I think for me, because most of the work I did before I came over here was volunteer, and I made a really good foundation, and the rescue was already successful, that the donor realized that in order to have this rescue continue to have a great reputation, continue to do as much good as we do in the world, that she wanted to pay me above and beyond what she already contributed to the rescue. So
wonderful, huh?
I'm sorry?
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm very lucky in that regard. And again, I didn't expect to have a paid career doing this. But it's a pretty big organization as far as rescue. I have about 14 employees, a ton of volunteers. It's like a big time operation. So with any larger nonprofit, there are paid executives to run it. So I think it's unusual because most rescues are actually foster based. And there's not a facility to run, there's not employees, there's not HR to do, there's not all these things. So it's a unique experience, but it kind of was manifested by me volunteering all those years and starting it up.
Do you think that's how you learned how to actually maintain it, was through your volunteering?
A combination of my business experience, because no matter, it is about the dogs and we're all passionate about the dogs, but I have to run it like a business. Like you still have to have a budget. You still have to be business minded. So I think my unique experience from running my own business and my background there, and yes, volunteering for the other organization and kind of building this from square one, led to the experience that I could run it today.
The reason I ask that kind of question is, think about, for example, college students looking at your interview and the progression of how you actually get to be successful in business. It doesn't happen, when you're 16 usually.
Right.
So you're teaching is what you're doing.
Right.
You're trying to do that.
Right. I
wouldn't know the first thing. I like animals, but I would never take on having a pug rescue.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would say, it happened for me because of my passion for animals and because I was willing to volunteer all those years and not think about this is what I want to do for a career. It was like, today I'm going to do what I'm passionate about and I'm going to save this dog. And that's what I'm saying. It kind of manifested itself. So I think, advice for young people, like no matter what they really want to do, like let's say they want to work in a theater, they might want to be an actress or actor on the stage. I think it's a great idea. Hey, volunteer and be an usher at the theater. Whatever it is you want to do, I feel like you could follow your passion. Nobody's going to graduate school and do exactly what they want to do in most cases. So for me, it was because I volunteered and followed my passion and it manifested into this. And again, it's unique, but that's the only way it's going to happen for young people. If they get into the area they want to do, and if they have to volunteer or intern or whatever have you, I think that's the way to do it, no matter what area they're looking to do.
So do you stick just with pugs, or do you accept a few token cats or birds?
It's funny you mentioned cats. We have a stray colony out there, and we've been trapping and spaying and neutering. They hang out in the back. We also take some pug mixes and some other breeds that are related to pugs, like Frenchies, if they're special needs. Like, we pride ourselves taking the special needs dogs that a lot of people don't want, and the seniors, so if there's a perfect pug in a shelter, you'll have 25 people from the public that want that pug, but we're there for the blind ones and the deaf ones.
That's
And,
great.
we do get, normal pugs too, but that was our primary focus, to help the ones that other people aren't going to help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have are you in a relationship now?
I am not. The last time I had a partner, it's been maybe 3 years. But I did, one of the pictures I sent over to you guys was me and my ex-partner, because she was really supportive when it came time to start the rescue and make that decision about selling my business and coming over here, because it was kind of a big decision, because my business was doing well, and it was a big gamble to sell something that I built for 10 years and come over and do rescue. And there was a lot of unknown. And she was really supportive as far as, look, what is your passion in life? Is it direct mail and database management, or is it these pugs? And
I think it shows that it's the pugs.
100%, but she was very supportive at the time, so I want to give her credit for that. But no, right now, honestly, I've had relationships, but it's hard because this rescue, I'm almost like a doctor, on call 24/7. I'll get an emergency call, this pug needs to be picked up. And it's hard for my partner to understand that sometimes. So I'm not saying like I've given up on relationships and I'm giving my life to the dogs, but my focus is the rescue and the dogs. And I'm okay with that right now,
Well, you're becoming more available, I can tell that.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, balance is good in life, so we'll see what happens.
Right. Be open to it.
Oh, yeah. I'm open to anything, whatever, right.
So what's been your greatest life's adventure so far, would you say?
Oh, my gosh. Honestly, I think this rescue, because it was so crazy when the other rescue was going under, and there were all those dogs that needed help, and then just starting a rescue and forming a board and everything. It's been a crazy adventure. And a couple years ago we moved into this facility. I mentioned in the beginning we rented out a facility. We outgrew it, and so a couple years ago the same donor helped us buy a building, and I was in charge of the construction. I didn't know a thing about construction, and we gutted the building and we built in the facility like we needed it. And it's honestly, it's an adventure every day. Like when I walk in here, I don't know what's waiting for me. I obviously love it, but I think this has been the greatest journey and adventure so far.
It's like a karmic thing.
Yes.
I believe in karma.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So what's your favorite fairy tale or children's story?
Oh my gosh. I guess I have to say Frozen, because you know, because all my parents have passed on, my family is very small. So it's basically me, my sister, and her kids. She has 2 kids. And, you know, Frozen is a story about sisters. So I think that one kind of comes to mind if I had to choose one.
Good one. It's not 101 Dalmatians or anything like that.
I guess that would be an obvious choice, but that's funny. No, Frozen came to mind.
I think I told you I had a friend and he and his partner had pugs. You go to their house, it'd be about 8 pugs that come for it. You know, I mean, they just loved them.
Yeah, they're kind of
Very nice
addicting, you know.
For example, religion, of course, plays a big part for a lot of women in terms of approval or not. And there's an interview, was raised in Mississippi, not from an affluent family. And she became suicidal with her sexual coming out. So she went to the church because that was what she knew. And the church person sent her to another person, also a religious. And this guy said, she told him about her dilemma, her pain, etc. And he said, God doesn't make mistakes. That saved her life.
Oh my God.
You know,
got chills.
And she worked with a lot of women and saved a lot of lives. But what a wonderful thing to say to somebody.
Yeah.
And they had to get over themselves to do that.
Right. You know, I have seen some examples. I mean, it's so frustrating. The climate is so frustrating, but people can learn. People can learn. I described my coming out as easy, and there were just a few people. There was one friend of mine that I went to high school with, and I was living in California with a partner, and she was coming with her husband to visit from Missouri. And she said, I'd love to see you, you know, when we're going to California. I said, I just want you to know, you know, I'm a lesbian, I live with a partner. And she just, so much negativity and horrible, vile things she said to me. The worst of which, her mom also died of cancer. And I was trying to have a conversation with her, and I said something very similar, like, God doesn't make mistakes. Why would God make lesbian and gay people, you know, if we're such sinners? And she literally said, well, God made cancer. And that was like, and she knew my mom died, so that was it. And literally, I don't know, 6 months ago, on Facebook, we were like Facebook friends. It turns out one of her daughters is gay, and she made this announcement of how happy she was, and she put the engagement picture. So I just commented and I said, wow, times have really changed. Like, I didn't embarrass her or whatever, but I just wanted her to say, you know, I remember what you said to me. So she did a private message, and she said, oh my God, Gwen, you know, I think about that all the time. I'm so sorry. I've learned so much. And I said, look, I'm way over it, but I'm just glad to see that you came around. And it made me happy, you know, that people that were that close-minded could change. And, you know, yes, it took her own daughter being gay and everything, but boy, has she embraced it. You know, I looked at her profile, and she had a little gay pride flag during June on her profile. And
she's really going for it now. She'll be running P flag.
Yeah. So change can happen. You know, we have to keep the optimism going, I suppose, even in these hard times.
So in closing, if you knew that your life was ending, how would you like to be remembered?
I think I would like to be remembered for someone who, you know, had integrity, was kind and supportive to friends and family. And I'd like to be remembered for saving thousands of dogs and changing people's lives. So
that's right.
Absolutely, without a doubt, that's how I'd like to be remembered.
That's great. So thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.